I hope everyone out there is having a wonderful weekend. It is Saturday, 12 November 2022, roughly 1700 hours. That is, of course, 5 p.m. in the evening for those of you in the civilian world. Here on the northeast coast of Florida, it is currently 77.7 degrees. We had a high today of 87.3, and we're going for a low tonight of 63.3. There's absolutely no wind whatsoever. And the barometer reads 29.95 inches of mercury and going up just slightly. It is a beautiful, beautiful day, and I wanted to share this picture with you guys from the backyard. Some of you might remember it was last spring, I believe. Went out and purchased 8 fruit trees, 4 for each side of the house. And this first year in the ground, this particular tangerine tree did spectacularly well. I've already picked a few of these off. They're not quite ready yet. They're definitely sweet. There's still a little bit of a tinge of bitter in there, but absolutely one of the most wonderful blessings to have. I don't want to forget to always be diligent, though. Say thank you to everyone who continues to support us over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. It's only $1 per month. It's not per video, not per week, not per sign-in. It's per month. And sometimes we do 3, sometimes we do 5 videos over there every month. We take the gloves off and talk about things like adults and what's coming now. After this all gets shaked out with the election, ain't going to be pretty. And this thing with cryptocurrency is just the beginning. See, now that all these politicians know that they don't have to impress anybody for the next couple years, they're going to do some things that are incredibly damaging, and we're going to reveal what those things are. We predicted over a year ago, well, almost a year ago, that there was going to be a major collapse in cryptocurrency. But before I forget, real quick, if you folks want to have a wonderfully entertaining evening that's also historically accurate, I know this is Cinemax. There's a show out called The Nick. And it talks about the state of medicine around 1900, the early 1900s. And it's historically dead on. And it also talks about other cultural things that were going on at the time. This is probably the best show I've seen out in a long time since the whole woke invasion of Hollywood. Most of what you see now is just garbage. This is from 2014. It's really, really good. Well done. It's only 2 seasons. So there's about 20 to 23 episodes, 1-hour episodes. So it could definitely keep you busy for at least a couple weeks anyway. But just wanted to recommend that. Also, before we get into the whole thing with cryptocurrency, Patriot Nurse apparently is not doing very well. She's ill. She's had some issues with pain, digestive issues, back issues. Many of you haven't seen her on YouTube for a while. She's put a couple of things up over at Patreon. I believe she did put up a video yesterday, and I don't think she mentioned anything about it, but just keep her in your prayers. And she's over at Patreon too, so there's a lot of good stuff, good content that she puts over there that I think a lot of you would be interested in. But mark my words, even though they staved off, quote unquote, the rest of the United States, that is, the red wave, they're still not going to be happy. They're still not going to be happy because there's going to be nothing to get riled up about except for the fact that they're going to be broke. See, they pulled back all the student loan forgiveness stuff, and inflation continues to go up and up and up and up, and there are no more free checks. And once the free checks go away, credit card bills start coming due, and there's no more moratoriums on evictions, and there's no more student loan forgiveness, and they've got to start acting like adults. You watch. You watch how it starts to just creep up and creep up and creep up after the holidays. There's going to be mass layoffs. And there were a lot of people that had their every egg in this basket. There were a lot of folks that did, both on the left and the right. Now, I've got this up because the reason I'm talking about this today is 12 November. 12 November 2022. 12 November 2021 was the day that Bitcoin reached its highest level last year. And within a month, December 13th, this channel told you that it was over. The collapse was coming. That's all the longer it took. 12 November 2021, Bitcoin was at 64,400. And where is it now? It has dropped 73.93%. It is down $47,612. I mean, it's just absolutely epic what's happened. And here's something else I warned about too. Some said, well, Florimaki, I'm going to hold on to it until it gets to a certain number and then I'm going to sell. Guess what? Guess what? They're not even letting people pull their investments out because it was never an investment. You see, you had to have somebody out there willing to buy. Many of these trading platforms have stopped allowing withdrawals. See, crypto would have already collapsed completely if the trading platforms had allowed everyone who wanted to pull their money out to pull their money out. And this guy, hundreds of millions vanished from collapsed cryptocurrency giant. An estimated 662 million in digital assets has reportedly been withdrawn from FTX in unauthorized transactions. See, this is the pirates. This is the pirates. The pirates have figured out that the British are on their way, the Spanish are on their way, the frigates and the gunboats are on the way. And so they are loading up their little sloops and they are heading off into the sunset with your money. Now, this article here from kitco.com, a lot of folks out there, when they see this, say, gold and silver, gold and silver. Bitcoin price could bottom at 10,000. Now, you read through this, and everybody's like, yeah, that's why I stay with gold and silver. And here's this guy talking about gold and silver and how great it is. But keep reading. He says, I'm waiting for Bitcoin to crash to 20K. We'll then wait for the test of bottom, which might be 17K. Well, now it's going to be closer to 10. Buying opportunity. Everybody's like, oh, buy the dip, buy the dip. But here we go. You ready for this? You have to go down to the bottom to get to the real story. This guy who talks about gold and silver and all these glowing terms. Best investment. Best investment. Better than gold. Better than silver. Cans of tuna fish. Inflation about to take off. Best investments are cans of tuna and baked beans. You can't eat gold, silver, or Bitcoin. You can eat cans of tuna and baked beans. Food most important, starvation next problem. Invest in the solution. And it's absolutely crazy what people are talking about with their, well, I want to stay in silver. I want to stay in silver. Kiyosaki sees silver jumping to 100 and then to 500 within this decade and is here. Called Jerry Williams, my trusted gold and silver dealer. He said, I can't get gold or silver coins. The mint will not sell me anymore. Really? Well, wait a minute. Why not? Why not? I mean, if it's going up, don't they have a duty to sell you things that make you money? Ask yourself this question. If it's going to be worth that much, why would they have ever sold it to begin with? If it's really going to be worth so much more, why would anybody trade it for dollars? This guy says US dollar will crash. This Kiyosaki. If this is true, why would anybody sell you something for that thing they're saying is going to go down? This is the argument I made with Bitcoin. I've made with anything else like gold or silver. I mean, selling goods and services, things that you create for dollars, that's one thing. Commodities are something else. You don't have to do anything to create gold or do anything to create silver. You just have to have it. It's just a thing that exists. You see, going all the way back to I guess all the way back throughout history, a hungry person valued a warm bowl of beans, I guess. This is a picture of beans and tuna fish. Some type of bean casserole, I guess. If you're hungry, this has it's equal to, you can think of it in the form of a currency. One sated hunger. I am hungry. Here is a bowl of food. That bowl of food is equal to one sated hunger. Now, how many dollars or bitcoins or ounces of silver is that worth? I guess it would depend on how hungry you are. Which is what? Subjective. Maybe you're a little hungry. Maybe you think, oh, I can go another couple days. I'm not giving up my silver for this. But if it's been a week or 2 weeks since you've had food, all of a sudden, you see one sated hunger now is a floating value. One sated hunger. And this is why I brought this up. It's going to be an uncertain thing going forward about what things are and what things are not going to be worth. It's going to be subjective, person to person. What this is worth in good times versus what it's worth in bad times. Just like the guy said, inflation about to take off, invest in cans of tuna fish and beans. Not gold, not silver, not Bitcoin. The currencies will be subjective. Another good example, insulin. A lot of people, have seen this collage I made ad nauseum from The Thing in Colony. The character Maddie Kenner, played by Amanda Rigetti, has a son who needs insulin. Okay? What is insulin worth? Whatever it takes. You see, that for her, that's a static thing. The insulin for her son is worth whatever it takes. There is no limit. There is no top end on this. I know I bring this up and it rolls their eyes. They talk about, oh, why do you talk about this paradigm that goes on all over the world and it's gone on throughout history forever and ever and ever and ever? Well, think about it. One sated hunger, right? One dose of insulin. One more, I guess, for the Maddie Kenner character, one more day with your kid. One more day that your kid gets to be alive. For men, on the other side of this transaction, what is that one night of that particular type of sated hunger worth? It's subjective, isn't it? In the case of the Forrest Gump movie, the one night of whatever that went on between Sally Field and this guy was equal to one education, one higher level education for her son. Because that's what this was all about. So currencies are currencies, and they are subjective. The idea of being trained with a weapon, for example, equals what? One feeling of being more secure in one's own, personal self. You have a weapon, if you don't know how to use it, it's not going to do you any good. You need the weapon and you need the training. But that feeling of being secure is a currency. This is a currency. A dog, a lifelong protector companion. That can be an alarm system and, somebody to talk to when no one else is around, and a feeling of security, and it lasts for 10, 12, 15 years. Whatever the cost is taken care of, that's equal to that one of that, whatever that is. And even a better one, and this one might hit home for a lot of people. What is one day of freedom worth? To you or me, the folks that are out on the outside that are already free? Well, I know a lot of people that have days where they're depressed and they don't want to do a whole lot and they want to stay in and maybe binge watch whatever, or they don't have to go to work. For these people, locked up on the inside, one day of freedom would be worth anything. Even if it was the day working outside, or they left in the morning and all they did was work all day, but it was outside in the fresh air and, and being out and doing something that everyone else would think would be kind of normal, or maybe not even worth that much, to these folks would mean everything. So things as far as what they're worth are going to be vague. It's going to be a very vague thing. And I guess I'll leave with this. The series Black Sails explains this perfectly. These folks that were living in the West Indies, they weren't guaranteed tomorrow. They absolutely were not guaranteed tomorrow. Today you have everything you'd ever wanted. I suppose we can only guess what tomorrow will bring. Seems almost biblical. Really, if you think about it. $1, a Bitcoin. I will say this. I would like to defy my audience to give me any time in the last 100 years where you, at least in North America, I guess really anywhere in the last 100 years, where you couldn't take $1 and go buy something you valued at that time. See, whether it was a prostitute, or whether it was a can of beans, or whether it was a dog, or whether it was a gun, or whatever. There's been no time in the last 100 years where you couldn't have taken a US dollar and gone and traded it for anything you wanted or needed. Anywhere. Truly. I mean, think about it. Whether it was insulin, whether it was company, whether in this particular case she basically bought an education. Anything. So if you wanted to have something that you knew historically could get you what you needed when you needed it, why would it not be dollars? This was always a scam, because this never bought anything. It only sold you the promise of being able to possibly, in the future, buy more things. But what do we know now? What do we know now? In the last year? Well, I guess here it is. In the last year to date, at its lowest, 75.53%. Lost 3/4 of its value in a year. No investment over a period of a year, I don't care what you say about it, is worth a potter's dam over this period of time. You know, it goes down, but then it goes back up, and then down and back up. No. Maybe, but that's not what's happening here. You'd be a fool not to see this. So anyway, keep Patriot Nurse in your prayers, of course. Check out The Nick. It's a really great show. Join us over at Patreon. Would love to have you. Have a great weekend. God bless. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.